Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we are making a hanging jewelry organizer, and this pattern is super beginner friendly, but if you don't know all the stitches, make sure to check out my ultimate beginner tutorial because I show all of them in that, and you will need most of them for this tutorial. Starting off with our materials, we have weight for acrylic yarn, a 5mm hook, a darning needle, and scissors. Starting off our first row, we're going to make a slip knot. And then we're going to chain 2 and make a foundation half double crochet. So yarning over, going into the side 2 loops of the first chain, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 1, and yarn over, pull through 3. Then we're going to do the same thing again, yarning over, go through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, go through 1, and yarn over, go through 3. And so we're going to keep doing these foundation half double crochets until it reaches the width that you want it to be. So I'm not even going to count how many stitches I do. I'm just going to base it like visually how wide it looks. But if you do have a certain size you want it to be, feel free to count. And basically this row, we're working in this direction, so the width of it, and we're at the bottom. So we're going to work our way up with the next rows that we do. And so once it reaches the width you want it to be, you can stop this row. And then as we're doing the next rows, once it reaches the length you want it to be, you can stop even if it's not at the same row that I stop at, because the way I'm doing this pattern, there's no like specific end point that you need to stop at. Even on like the mesh rows, there's gonna be solid stitches at the corners, so it's still gonna work to like pin it up. So just keep doing these foundation half double crochets until it reaches that width that you want it to be. At the end of the row, you're going to chain 1 and turn your work. And then for your next row, you're going to do pretty much the same thing, but this time we're doing half double crochets instead of foundation half double crochets. And we're just going to do 1 into every single stitch. And then reaching the end of the row, doing the exact same thing. 1 half double crochet into every stitch. And then at the end of this row, we're going to chain 3. Turn our work, and then we're going to make 2 treble crochets. 1 into the first stitch, 1 to the next. And then we're going to chain 2, skip 2 stitches, and treble crochet. And so all of these gaps are going to be the spots that you can put your jewelry into. So like around this stitch you would hang your jewelry. For your last section in the corner, you might not end up having 3 stitches left like you're supposed to have because we didn't count our stitches on the first row. So in order to correct for that, instead of just doing our chain 2, skip 2 like normal, we're going to skip however many makes it have 2 stitches at the end. So right now I have 3 stitches left after my last stitch, which means I would have 4 stitches at the end, where on this side I only have 3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take apart this last treble crochet, and still keeping this chain 2, I'm going to skip 3 stitches and go into the 4th. And so now it's such a small difference that you don't even notice it's a bigger gap, and it makes it so that you can have your 3 stitches at the end. But if your last stitch is right here, and you only have one stitch left, what you're going to do instead is put your last stitch one stitch early. So basically, you're only going to be skipping one and go into the next one, even though you still have that chain 2. So you would go like this. And then you would do your 2 treble crochets, and that would be the end of your row. But again, for mine, I have an extra stitch. I'm not 1 stitch short. So I'm going to do my chain 2, but I'm going to skip 3 and go into the 3rd, and then do a treble crochet into the next and a treble crochet into the last. For our next row, we're going to chain 3 again, and then we're going to do a treble crochet into our first treble crochet from the last row, and then 1 into the next one. And now, even though we have gaps, we're just going to be crocheting into them like normal, because these rows are going to be in between the mesh rows, so that there's room for the jewelry to actually like physically be hanging. So you could do your stitches into the actual chains themselves, but it really is not going to make that much difference if you just go into the gap. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a treble crochet going directly into the gap, and then I'm going to do a second one. So since all of these gaps have chain 2s, we're always going to be doing 2 treble crochets into the gap and then 1 into the treble crochet that is between them. After you've done your second treble crochet into your last gap, you're going to do 3 treble crochets in the corner, going 1 into each stitch, including the chain. And then at the end of the row, we're going to chain 3, turn our work, and do another row of those treble crochets into every stitch. Doing our last treble crochet, but this time we're going to chain 2, turn our work, and we're going to make 2 double crochets, and then we're going to chain 1, skip 1, and double crochet. Chain 1, skip 1, double crochet, and just repeating that the entire row. Okay, quick disclaimer, from here on, I completely forgot that at the end of these mesh rows, I wanted it to have 3 stitches of solid stitches and not just end with 1 double crochet or 1 treble crochet. So for the rest of the entire pattern, I literally completely forget that and I just do a mesh stitch at the end. But if you want it to be symmetrical so that it has those 3 stitches at the beginning and the 3 at the end, you can definitely add that on, and basically it's just going to be the same thing like it was in our first mesh treble crochet row, where if you have a little bit extra or a little bit less, you're just going to correct for that so you can end up having those 3 stitches at the end. Or if you don't really care, you can just like follow it exactly how I'm doing it, but I am like essentially making it asymmetrical because I have those 3 stitches at the beginning and I don't have them at the end, so my bad. And at the end, you're going to chain 1, and depending on what stitches you have left, you're either going to double crochet into the chain, meaning that you're skipping 1, or if you have 2 treble crochets and the chain left, you're just going to double crochet into the second treble crochet. Since I have 1 treble crochet and then the chain, I'm double crocheting into the chain. Now we're going to chain 3, And we are going to do 3 treble crochet rows so that we have space in between the next gaps. So this time we're going to do 1 treble crochet into the gap, 1 into the stitch, 1 into the gap, and just repeating that in the entire row. And then at the end, you're going to do a treble crochet into each stitch, including the chain. And then for our next row, chaining 3, turning our work, and treble crocheting the entire row. And then doing our last treble crochets. And then we're going to do 1 more row, so chaining 3 again, and doing treble crochets into every single stitch. And then we're going to chain 2, turn our work, do 2 double crochets, chain 1, skip 1, double crochet, and repeating that pattern the entire row. And then at the end of the row, either chaining 1, skipping 1, and going into the chain, or going into the treble crochet, but you're deciding which one to do depending on how many stitches you have left. So I have 2 stitches and a chain left, so I'm going to go into the second stitch, but if you only have 1 stitch and the chain left, you're going to go into the chain. And so this is the last mesh row that I'm going to be doing, but if you want to add a couple more, just do your 3 treble crochet rows, and then do your next mesh row and keep going until it's as long as you want it to be. But what I'm going to do is chain 2, and this time we are going to do double crochets into every stitch. So 1 to the gap, 1 to the stitch, and repeating that the whole row. And so now we're going to chain 1 and cut off our work, and then pull through. And so now all we have left is weaving in our ends. So what we're going to do is grab our needle, lay the yarn over, pinch it, and pull it off. And then you can just wiggle it through the eye of the needle and pull it through. And now we're just going to weave through, back and forth through the tops of the stitches, and then in the actual stitches, and then out the side. Then you can cut it off. And then we're going to do our next corner. And cut it off. And so now we are completely done. So you have a couple methods that you can use to hang it up. What I'm probably going to do is just put like a little pin in between these 2 stitches on both sides. You could also use one of those like metal things that goes in like the triangle shape, so you like weave it through and then it connects up here. You could also do a bunch of chains, weave them through the top, and then tie it at the top, and then you pin it right under the tie onto the wall. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions, make sure to let me know down below and I will do my best to help. Make sure to check out my Depop for different crochet and non-crochet things that I'm selling. I might list this on there, so keep an eye out because it might be on there soon. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you next time. Bye! Me ignoring the plan.